Like I said, welcome. My name is Curtis and I'm a guide with Trek Travel. I have Anna with me tonight. We will be your guides for this evening. And again, I appreciate you all joining us on this almost summer evening. Assume you really want to hear about these trips, or maybe it's raining wherever you are or too hot to ride outside. But anyway, tonight I'm going to tell you all about Trek Travel and how you can have an active vacation of a lifetime with us. So let's get started. As I said, it takes a team to have a vacation of a lifetime and also to tell you about them. So joining us tonight is my good friend and co-guide, Anna. You're going to see Anna a little bit later when we get into the trips that we are highlighting. Now, I know all of you have become Zoom experts in the last few years with all the Zoom meetings we have these days. But here are a few reminders. If you've updated Zoom recently and you're only seeing my face right now, switch over to the screen share so you can see the screen tab, the tab at the top. If you're seeing the Zoom tips slide, then don't worry, you're all set. They've kept, of course, the menu bar where we have the mute button and the video toggle button, which is great, and the chat box. And this is where you're going to ask some trivia questions tonight. We have 2 trivia questions, so you'll want to make sure to have that chat box open. But more importantly, throughout the evening, as we're going through this presentation, as questions arise, feel free to throw those questions into there. We'll hit them at the end of the night. We have a Q&A session, or maybe throughout the evening if we can, and kind of go back and make sure they're all covered so everybody sees them. But it's a great spot to kind of throw in questions as we're going through the presentation, because if you're like me, you come up with some great questions and then 5 minutes later that great question is gone. You can also do closed captioning if you like, but at this point if I ask everybody to please turn off their mic and their video so we can save some bandwidth, I will get the presentation started. At Trek Travel, we usually begin each day with what we call a route talk. So you have an idea of where you're going to be going that day and what you can expect to see. So here's your route talk for this evening. We'll start with who we are at Trek Travel, then move on to why you should travel with us, kind of what sets us apart from our competition. Then we will climb up to tonight's trip spotlights because it's not a Trek Travel trip without at least a little bit of climbing. And tonight we have Amsterdam to Bruges and the Santa Barbara Wine Country Bike Tour. And then we will quickly but safely descend to discuss how to book a trip. And of course, as I mentioned, we will finish with some Q&A where we hope all of you will ask any questions that you have about these trips, other trips, Trek Travel, bikes, anything you want to know. For those of you who've been with us before, been on a Trek Travel trip with us before, don't worry, there's no safety talk tonight. That's the part of our presentations where usually people start to fade off and they want to get riding their bikes. So we were pretty confident you're all safe at home, so no safety talk. So let's get started. First, I'll tell you about who we are at Trek Travel and what we do. Trek Travel is a company, though I've been saying, after 5 years working for them, it feels more like a family to me that believes in taking you on vacations that move you, both literally and figuratively. Trek Travel has active vacations all over the world and is always scouting out new locations and new ways to experience them. And we've been doing it for 23 years now. And over all of those years, we've been winning awards. We've been voted one of the top vacation companies by our guests and partners over the years by various organizations. Most recently, we were voted a top 10 tour operator by Travel and Leisure for 2023. Number 5, in fact, which was our highest finish ever. And this is a repeat from 2022, 21, 2018, and 2016. We are extremely proud of these awards and we will continue to work hard to deserve more. Now, you're probably wondering, what are we doing to win all these awards? You might hear us call it our secret sauce, though it's not Thousand Island for those of you old enough to remember when Thousand Island was the secret sauce on everything. But I will say it could be wine or beer because that is part of pretty much all of our trips. But rather than telling you about it, I want to show you a video narrated by our president, Tanya Burke, called Why Trek Travel.
Active travel is pure magic. You can hear, taste, see things in a different way and from a different perspective. I close my eyes and I can hear the sound of the cowbells in the Alps. I can taste the best tomatoes in the world in Italy, and I can see that pristine blue lake in Glacier National Park. Biking or hiking through an area allows you to get up close and personal to the place and the people. At Trek Travel, we have cycling trips for every type of traveler. From classic guided vacations in North America and Europe, you can experience the best of a destination with our world-class guides. If you're an avid rider, we have trips that will test your legs, from experiencing the best of the pro cycling scene on our Tour de France trips to training for your next big race on our ride camps. Do you want to adventure off the beaten path? Our gravel bike tours are the perfect fit. They combine classic Trek Travel experience with miles of gravel roads across North America and Europe. For travelers looking to lace up their boots, our hiking and walking tours offer a variety of activity levels, from leisurely strolls in Ireland and Portugal to epic hikes in the French Alps and the Dolomites. All the elements of an incredible trip are fine-tuned and delivered with unparalleled hospitality by our awesome guides. They're focused on making sure we have a seamless and effortless experience for our guests and provide wow moments that you would never expect. From luxury vacations in Mallorca to leisurely riding e-bikes through Bryce and Zion National Parks, whether you're looking for big days in the saddle in Girona, hiking through historic villages in Italy, or planning a private getaway for you and your family or friends, our sole purpose is to make sure you have the best vacation you've ever had, and we look forward to you joining us on your next adventure.
Man, I love that video. You just watch some of those scenes where you're going down those amazing roads. It just kind of makes you want to get out and ride your own bike. Of course, if you have access to those amazing roads like that. Speaking of riding, we know that you're here tonight because you love to ride as well, and bikes are one of the many ways that Trek Travel sets itself apart from other tour operators. I'm sure you'd all agree that the bike you ride on a cycling vacation matters. That's why we provide the best bikes in the business and tailor them to the trip that you're on. Honestly, you're probably going to want to go out and buy one of these when you get home if you don't already have one. Now, we have four standard bikes. Which ones are offered will depend on the type of trip and region that you're in. Though I should mention that in a few select regions, we'll offer different bikes than the ones I'm showing you today, but these are offered on the majority of our trips. First, for our gravel trips, we offer the Trek Checkpoint SLR7. This is a full carbon fiber bike with electronic shifting, disc brakes, carbon wheels. It's absolutely amazing. Completely soaks up that gravel as you're cruising along. It's really, really an awesome bike. Now, for our road trips, we have the Damani SLR or SL7. Again, full carbon fiber bike, electronic shifting, disc brakes, and again, carbon wheels. For our e-bike, this is a no-cost option on many of our trips. Not all of them, but when it's available, this is a no-cost option. We have the Trek Verve. This is more of a step-through design, kind of a hybrid with a step-through. And then finally, as I was talking about before this started, our e-road bike is the Trek Domani Plus SLR7. This bike is absolutely awesome. It weighs right around 27 pounds. Again, full carbon fiber, electronic shifting, disc brakes, but that assist just makes you feel like a pro. I should mention all of these bikes are electric assist bikes. This is a Trek travel trip after all, so you have to actually pedal. There's no throttle where you can just kind of cruise along and be a passenger. You have to actually engage. If you haven't ridden an e-bike before, you should definitely pop into your local Trek dealer and check one out. It's hard to ride an e-bike without having a huge smile on your face. Like I said, I have the Direct Money Plus SLR7 and absolutely love it. And it's great because you don't always have to have it assist. Like I often ride it with friends where I don't even turn it on. I mean, I keep it on but don't have the assist happening because when you're riding honestly on the flats or obviously the downhills, you don't really need it all that much most of the time. Now, of course, if you're trying to, sprint up a hill or trying to keep up with someone's fast, it'll assist you up to 28 miles an hour. So again, makes you feel like a pro if you're riding with those who are a little bit faster than you. Okay, let's open up those chat boxes for our very first trivia question. The question is, which continents are included in Trek Travel's tour destination? And I will say, I think this is kind of should be an easier one for some of you. The options are, and again, you only have to put the letter of the correct answer, not the full answer. The options are A, Antarctica and Africa, B, North America and Europe, C, Europe, North America, South America, and Asia Pacific, or D, Australia and Africa. And I would hope most of you are able to knock out one or two of those options right away, leaving two options for you in the past, and it's 50-50 shot from there. Yeah, I see as the question or as the answers roll in, I see obviously most of you get it. So yeah, the correct answer is C, obviously. Europe, North America, South America, and Asia Pacific. I mean, everyone knows obviously North America and Europe, but it's obviously our trips in South America and Asia Pacific that often people don't really realize that we do as well. Now, you may be wondering, how can I figure out which trip is right for me? One way is by considering the activity level of the trip. Some trips are more active than others, so that is definitely something you want to take into consideration. We classify our trips by four levels: level one, level two, level three, and level four. It's not rocket science, and it shouldn't be. Level one is going to be easier in distance, terrain, and our skill level for all of our trip styles, regardless of the type of trip. And level four will obviously be the hardest. And you may have seen descriptive names to kind of talk about them, leisure, recreational, active, but really just focus on the number because I think sometimes people read too much into whether they, an avid rider or a leisure rider. So just look at the number, and then for each trip, you can kind of look at the average distance, the average amount of climbing, um, and the average amount of miles that you're doing on the trip. Now, another way to consider looking for trips is trip styles. We have several different trip styles. First, of course, are classic road cycling trips. This is where we started way back in 2002 and where we have the most trips by far. These trips range from 3 or 4 day short trips exploring an area to our cross-country trip that covers almost 3,800 miles over 155,000 feet of climbing over 47 days, and everything in between. There is truly a trip for everyone, whether you're all about long days in the saddle or just a little bit of riding while you enjoy the culture and food of the area. And for those of you who want to do it on your own, there are also self-guided trips. Sometimes they're even in regions that we don't offer our guided trips. And so sometimes, check out if you're like a self-guided person, you can go in on our website, look at self-guided and see where you can go and kind of ride on your own. You still get the Garmin and the bike and kind of obviously the routes, but you're just not having the guides there with you. Next cycle trip style is our gravel cycling adventures. These trips are for our guests who want to get off paved roads to roads that are a little more rugged and less traveled. And to do this, we use gravel bikes. For those of you who are not familiar with gravel bikes, though they're all over the place these days, um, basically, if a road bike and a mountain bike had a baby, it would be a gravel bike. So you should think of gravel riding as a combination of road riding and mountain biking. Usually riding is on dirt roads and paths that are not as full of rocks and ruts or as technical as many mountain bike trails, but definitely more adventurous than the paved trails and paths that you're on with a road bike. Though I should mention that obviously you'll have to be on some paved roads and paths to get to some of the gravel trails. This really depends on the trip. And our last trip style is also our newest. As we say, step into a new era of trek travel with our hiking and walking tours. We started out thinking that being on two wheels was the best way to see the world. But after all these years, we realized there are some amazing places you can't go with a bike, or at least maybe you shouldn't go with a bike, or it's illegal to go with a bike. So we have our hiking and walking tours, and they are packed with everything that makes trek travel trips truly incredible. The best guides, luxury accommodations, expert itineraries, unmatched flexibility, and support from the moment you book your trip till well after you depart, all delivered with what sets trek travel apart, our unparalleled hospitality. Okay, so let's talk about what's included on a trek travel trip. As you can see, there's a lot included. For both types of trips, whether it's the cycling or the hiking and walking, you have the hotel, the guides, daily breakfasts, most lunches, most dinners, daily snacks and drinks, gratuities for local staff. So whenever you're doing like an event or a dinner, you don't have to worry about any gratuities. We have all of that covered. And if you're on a trip where you're traveling from one place to another, the luggage transfers and transportation during the trip are all covered as well. And depending on the trip, some trek travel gear to keep. I mean, we all like swag. For our cycling trips, obviously you have the world-class bikes I talked about that are all equipped with a Garmin GPS. We also provide a helmet, a flat pack, support van, 1 to 3 route options each day, depending on the day. For the hiking and walking trips, you get a backpack, hiking poles, and a water bottle. Of course, if you have your favorite backpack, I would encourage you to bring that along. We just want to make sure that people who don't own a backpack, and if you're like me, you have several, can also do a hiking and walking trip if they don't have the equipment. So you can kind of check it out, and if you love it, it's always best to kind of get the equipment that fits you perfectly and that you like. So, what's not included, as you can see, this list is much shorter. Obviously, airfare to and from the trip. And we always recommend that you kind of go out a day or two early, especially these days with all the travel hiccups. You want to make sure you get out. Sometimes you'll meet at a certain spot and they'll kind of take you to some other place, maybe a hotel you're not staying at, and they'll take you to some other place. And if you miss that pickup, you got to get yourself to wherever you're starting from or wherever you're staying at, that day or the next day. So, of course, lodging and before and after the trip as well. Any personal items such as souvenirs not included. Optional activities are not scheduled by Trek Travel. Our trips are usually pretty full of stuff, but we try to keep some time open for you to do the things that you want to do. And so whatever you pick, obviously that's something that's covered by you, including some meals. Again, we have a lot of amazing curated meals, but we want you to be able to go out and experience a local cuisine yourself. On our app, we will have obviously some recommendations for places that we think you definitely want to check out, but you're free to go wherever you like. And the last thing that's not included is gratuity for Trek travel guides. Say, we appreciate your appreciation. So, in advance, thank you. All right, so let's open up those chat boxes again and get ready for your second trivia question. This is kind of a little tricky one. But how many national park trips can you take with Trek Travel? The options are A, 5, B, 4, C, 8, or D, 3. And as I often say, if you don't know the correct answer, guessing C always seems to be a good option for me. So that's usually where I go with. And with that, the correct answer is C. I know we had two C's in a row. I usually try to avoid that with our trivia questions, is having two where the correct answer is C both times. But we have 8 national park trips, or at least 8 trips where you get to go to a national park. All right, we are now climbing up to the point that you've all been waiting for, the section of the event where we highlight some of our trips. And tonight, I'm so excited that I get to share with you Amsterdam to Bruges and the Santa Barbara bike tours with you. So I'm going to pass over to my co-guide this evening, Anna, to tell you all about these amazing destinations. Anna, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Curtis. I appreciate it. Thanks for warming us up. And before we dive into our two destinations for this evening, one of them will stay domestic and the other one will go abroad. So let's start off with our trip abroad as we head on over to our Amsterdam and Bruges bike tour. Have you ever dreamt of cycling past all the tulips in the Netherlands and the windmills that line up along the stunning bike paths that exist out there? Or what about even staying in two really cool, unique cities to both the Netherlands and the Belgium and Belgium, not the Belgium. Now we mix in a little bit of local delicacies such as chocolate and German beer. We also have cheese and coffee and of course bikes. Now, if any of this interests you, then you will absolutely love our Amsterdam to Bruges bike tour. This is a point-to-point tour, so we will be staying in multiple different accommodations. Now, for the riding, this trip is for everyone. This is initially for our beginners because the riding is definitely more flat along bike paths, but it is also accommodating to our more avid riders who are looking for maybe a little bit more laid back holiday of cycling without all of the challenging climbs. The possibility to ride as many miles as you want on flat terrain is definitely available. Now, when I say flat terrain, I mean definitely flat terrain. For those of you who are maybe are more avid riders, your whole week will total up to around 3,000 feet of elevation gain. Whereas other trips, you might notice that we have 3,000 feet in one day, and that's the total across all of the days of riding. So definitely flat terrain, but it's awesome because the scenery is absolutely beautiful. This trip is also for those who want to experience the local food and the culture of the Netherlands and Belgium. Now, these two places are among the world's most bike-friendly countries. I'm sure you could already guess that. But the length of the bike paths in the Netherlands is actually a quarter of the country's entire road network. The road network is about 35,000 kilometers, which is about 22,000 miles. I'm sorry, the bike path network is about 22,000 miles in the country of the Netherlands alone, which is insane. That's an insane amount of bike paths. But both countries are absolutely crazy about cycling. Both the Dutch and the Belgian riders are some of the best in the world if you happen to watch some pro cycling. Now, on this trip, it is very important to be familiar with riding on bike paths, as we will be doing a lot of that. You will not be the only one on these bike paths, and so it's good to make sure that you know how to be aware of other riders and other directions and making sure that you're staying on the right side of the path at all times. Awesome. Now, on day two, we get to ride through the famous fields of tulips and we get to admire all the beautiful spring colors of the renowned Keukenhof Park. This is not only one of Europe's, but one of the world's largest botanical gardens to ever exist. It's also known as the Garden of Europe. So, talk about stopping and smelling the flowers. You definitely have to stop and smell the tulips. Now, the history of Keukenhof dates back to the 15th century, where it was originally used for hunting grounds for food for nearby castles. The Keukenhof Castle was actually built in 1641, and the estate grew to encompass over an area of over 200 hectares. It wasn't until 1949 where a group of flower bulb growers and experts came up with the plan to alter the grounds and use the estate to exhibit spring flowering bulbs, which signaled the birth of this beautiful spring park that exists today. So the park actually opened its gates to the public in 1950, and it was an instant success. They had over 236,000 visitors in the first year alone, and 2025 is the 76th year of Keukenhof Park, and it's become one of the most world famous destinations in the Netherlands. So must see, pretty much. Now, on the morning of day three, we'll get to head out to discover another UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is Kinderdijk. The canals, the mills, and the pumping stations of Kinderdijk. Sorry, my pronunciation isn't the best, but Kinderdijk. These are a testament to the engineering that took place back in the day, and it's been holding up and keeping water under control for over 700 years. Now, if you have more of like an engineering brain and you'd like to learn more about the history of these canals and this marvel, then you can absolutely visit the museum mills for more of the backstory as you visit here today. Now, on all the rides on this trip are absolutely special and gorgeous and special in their own way. But day four, the highlight of day four and the uniqueness of day four is that we cross from the Netherlands into our second country of Belgium. We'll start our actual ride with a spin along the sand dunes that you probably didn't even know existed in the Netherlands, and we'll be along the sea before we turn inwards and head towards our final destination for the trip, which is our distinguished city of Bruges. Now, as we go into Bruges, we have to talk about my favorite topic, which is cheese. I actually have a charcuterie company, so yes, cheese is definitely one of my favorite topics to talk about. Now, on this day, we are taking you to the Valley of Cheese in Gouda, Belgium, which is, yes, that is the name of the actual town. They are known for their stroopwafels that pair perfectly with your coffee. I'm sure you've probably had them before. If not, this is a great place to try them. But here in Gouda, we actually meet up with our local friends and cheesemakers, where we learn about the process of making perfectly aged, rich, delicious cheese like Gouda. And yes, of course, you do get to taste some along the way. Now we've touched on some riding, we've touched on cheese, and now we touch on our accommodations for this trip. Our first hotel, which is the Hotel de Indes, otherwise known as The Hague, which is also the name of the town that we'll be staying in, and it just so happens to be the home of the royal Dutch family. This hotel is surrounded by the beautiful linden trees, luxurious shopping streets, some prominent museums in the area, as well as theaters and lots of different restaurants. This hotel was originally a magnificent bank that was renovated into the beautiful hotel that exists today. Now, it does echo the past world with its modern touches of luxury and refinement, but it does definitely blend well with the regal influence of the Hague neighborhood. Now, we love this boutique hotel because it is specifically unique to the town of Hague itself. We definitely invite you to take advantage of the city center location and do as much of exploring as you can because we are perfectly situated in the museum quarter of this town with tons of cultural and historic attractions waiting to be explored right outside your doorstep. Now, Bruges is our final destination for this trip, hence the Amsterdam to Bruges, and it is the capital city of West Flanders. It's also known for its unique look and feel, as you can see from this picture, and it has plenty of cobbled streets, canals, and pristinely maintained medieval architecture. It is one of the perfect towns and cities to be able to just go out and wander and explore and get a little lost on the streets. I promise once you visit here once, it is definitely a place that will keep you wanting to come back again and again. Now, I would be completely remiss if I didn't touch on beer as we talk about Belgium. So, therefore, we must take you to the oldest family owned brewery in Bruges, which dates back to the 16th century, where you get to taste the famous Bruges beer. With around 6 generations of brewing techniques that have been passed down, they continue to offer their world-renowned flavors while also continuing to innovate and create new beer. This brewery is extra cool, in my opinion, because they created an underground pipeline system that actually moves the beer out of the city to help lessen the pollution of having vehicles distribute the beer on the roads in the city of Bruges itself. Kind of fun, kind of unique. Wish we could have more of that in other places. Now, a place that I definitely skipped over during this presentation I want to come back to is our castles. As you're riding throughout this entire week, this is one of the highlights that you'll see along with the tulips and the windmills, but you'll also be able to make your way along the scenic Castilian route, which uncovers a selection of these magnificent properties. Now, as you pedal along, you'll get to encounter a fascinating array of historical markers and landmarks, each with its own captivating tale to tell. Now, the now privately owned castle you see pictured here has a mysterious past, which your guides are more than happy to explain all of the history of this place, but it has been transformed into a 13th century fortress, or from a 13th century fortress into a 19th century style building. So this adjacent park remains open for explanation, and your guides will know more as you arrive at these destinations. Now, as all good things, our trip from Amsterdam to Bruges must come to an end at some point. So our final day, we get to enjoy an early morning, easy spin to the scenic villages nearby, which have a charming and historic feel, which are surrounded by lush green polders. These towns are also known for its rich heritage and picturesque scenery, as you can tell from these photos. It is a perfect place for our farewell ride to end out our trip. So both the Netherlands and Belgium are special to cycle through at any time throughout the year. The tulips in the spring are a sight to behold, and not to mention that all that this region has to offer, including the cheese and the beer and the wonderful accommodations. So this trip really is for everyone. All right, let's say goodbye to the Netherlands and Belgium, and let's head all the way over to the US West Coast as we dive into our Santa Barbara wine country bike tour. If you're looking for incredible wine and cycling that's maybe a little bit closer to home, the love for our Santa Barbara bike tour is something definitely worth being explored. Here you'll get to find a wide range of cycling routes, all from challenging mountain climbs to leisurely beachside strolls, all from the quaint town of Los Olivos and Santa Barbara, which provides some scenic backcountry roads, which are perfect for exploring the coast as well as the vineyards and the countryside. So Santa Barbara Wine Country Tour is 6 days and 5 nights trip. The terrain on this tour varies, including gradual descents on a bike path, flat riding along the coast, as you can see in this picture, and a few short climbs and undulating roads in Santa Barbara and Los Olivos. We also have one big day of the classic Santa Barbara climbs, which you must experience if you're out in this area. While the shorter options of our rides is we always have a shorter, a today, and typically a longer option as well. The shorter option will always feature the least hilly terrain, while the avid options will always include more climbs and hills that are definitely to be had out in Santa Barbara. Now, Santa Barbara and Los Olivos are best suited for our level 3 riders, but truck travel guides can easily accommodate our level 2 riders on this trip as well, who are looking to seek less mileage, fewer uphills, little bit of boost in the van and be able to captivate on the wine, the food, and the luxury of Santa Barbara. On day two, we'll make our way towards East Mountain Drive, one of my personal favorite roads in the entire United States, and definitely one of the fan favorites amongst our guests. This road twists and turns along itself with a continuous view of the ocean off on one side and beautiful homes and architectural feats on the other side of the road. Absolutely stunning. And those who reach the top of the San Ynez Mountains on this day are rewarded with stunning views to the east and northeast, which show off a little taste of Santa Barbara's backcountry and the vast Los Padres National Forest as well. On day three, we keep it a little simpler and we enjoy the sun-kissed ambiance by lounging by the pool, or we embark on a leisure bike ride through the quaint town of Montecito, just outside of Santa Barbara. We'll be passing by the picturesque Butterfly Beach and keeping our eye out for any local celebrities that might be out wandering around enjoying their day as well. On day five, we'll get to ride along the charming town of Los Olivos, which sits right in the middle of the celebrated San Ynez wine country. We get to spin our wheels along the beautiful Foxen Canyon Wine Trail, which is a route that supports some of our most accomplished winemakers in California. Definitely an area worth seeing when you're out in this area. And I skipped a day, so jumping back on day four, we'll actually get to ride along and go into the charming town of Los Olivos itself, where we'll be staying at the outstanding inn of Mate's Tavern, where you'll spend your final 2 nights in truly pampered luxury and style in downtown Los Olivos. This tavern is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's recognized for its cultural and historical significance. So definitely a unique stay to be able to enjoy while you're out in the wine country. Now, while we're in Santa Barbara, still in the beginning of the trip, if you're into art, then you should definitely head into Santa Barbara's artsy neighborhood, which is also called the Funk Zone, noted from the sign, slow down and enjoy the funk. This area is located right between the ocean and Highway 101, and it has boutique tasting rooms, cafes, tons of art galleries, and lots of cute little shops that are all catered to the contemporary side of Santa Barbara. Definitely worth an afternoon popping around and enjoying this area. Another thing you can do while you're walking around Santa Barbara is enjoy a walking tour of the Mission, which offers a chance to delve into the rich history, the cultural heritage, and the architectural beauty of this renowned mission. Whether your fascination lies in the past, the stunning architecture, or simply immersing yourself in the peaceful surroundings of the Mission, a visit here definitely provides a captivating experience one way or another. Now, on this tour, of course, we definitely invite you to awaken your senses at private wine tastings in the Santa Ynez Valley. Your guides have a huge list of their favorite wineries and definitely favorite experiences worth enjoying. So definitely take advantage of all of the wine tasting while you're out here in this area. Now, on our last morning in Los Olivos, we will soak up the sunshine by the pool and take a short little spin along the quaint Danish-inspired town of Solvang, as you can see pictured here. Kind of makes it feel like we're back in Europe at this point. But whether you want to sample a decadent pastry at one of the many bakeries in town or just enjoy the scenery and the architecture of Solvang, doesn't matter. You'll definitely enjoy this final day's spin. Now, no matter where you decide to go, whether it's the west coast of California or all the way over to the west coast of Europe, there are so many magical places to explore by bike, and we can't wait to show you our favorite places. Now you just need to decide where your next destination will take you. All right, without further ado, I'll send it back on over to you, Curtis.
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, both places. It's kind of funny ending in Solvang, where it does feel like you're back over in Europe, even though you've gone, you just biked around. Um, so I hope all of you are just as excited about these trips as we are, and you're probably wondering, well, what's next? Well, watch out for an email from our team with lots of great info to recap tonight's presentation, including a link to the video. You can visit our website to get more information about these trips or others, including dates and prices, trip logistics, so you kind of know where to go, what to bring, just kind of all the stuff that you need to know um, about the trip, basically. Then you can also on the website while you're there, search by region, date, trip style, rider level, and so many other ways. While While you're there, you can also find out about our industry-leading cancellation policy and our travel insurance provider. And then once you have decided on a trip, give us a call to book it Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. Or if you're one of those people who thinks all of your best decisions are made late at night, you can book many of our trips online as well. And then once you've booked a trip, don't forget to get ready for it. This isn't kind of your normal lazy lay at the beach or just, stroll around. You're going to get a lot more out of these trips if you actually get ready for them. And actually getting ready for them is part of the fun of the trip. So head to your local Trek dealer, kind of figure out what extra gear you need. It's always great to have an excuse to buy more gear. And if there's one way you want to avoid any rain on a trip, because, regardless of what time of year you travel, there's always a chance of rain in the summertime or in the spring or the fall. But if you bring rain gear, it's less likely to rain for sure. You can also check out those e-bikes. If you haven't ridden one before, to say, hey, if I'm more of a level 2 rider and I'm doing a level 3 trip like Santa Barbara, for example, maybe you can do the boost. That's all easy. Hop in the van for some of the stuff. Or when you have an e-bike available, hopping on an e-bike is an easy way to turn a level 3 trip into a level 2 trip for you, and have a lot more fun with it. And then also, you can find out local rides. It's a great way to meet more and more people, connect with those folks. Maybe check out the Damani SL7 to kind of get fitted for if you don't already have one, so you can kind of get your measurements before you go out, so the guides can kind of get your bike all ready. But just overall, there's lots of fun things to do to get ready for the trip before you actually go on the trip. And then when you've done that and you get on the trip, you're absolutely going to love it and have a lot more friends. And you'll make more friends on the trip. So with that, we are almost at the end of tonight's presentation. But before we go, I want to kind of remind you, if you go to the resources tab on our webpage and click on events, you can find lots of other events that we host throughout the year, usually on Wednesday nights. There's only one more event in June, and it's next week, June 25th, and we're doing the Provence countryside and New Zealand South Island. And if neither of those are interesting to you, just keep checking back. We'll have more events in July and August. They kind of post them as they get them ready. I also wanted to mention that Trek Travel has started having group Ruby rides the first day of every month. This month, or actually next month, we will be riding in Spain from, I'm totally going to mess this up, Tossa de Mar to Saint Feliu de Buzols. It's on July 4th, so I know all of you have the day off. The rides are at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time, so obviously depending on what time zone you're in, those times will vary. Generally, they're 1 and 7, but sometimes they can move those around. Now, if you haven't ridden on Ruby before, it is an awesome way to experience some of the greatest rides around the world without leaving the seat of your smart trainer. If you don't have a Ruby account, it's easy to sign up, and if you use the code TrekTravel1M, so the words Trek Travel together, the number 1 and an M. Here, let me actually just see if I can grab this and throw it into the chat for everybody. Let me just type it in for everybody. Trek Travel 1M. You can get your first month free. You usually only get 1 week to check it out. So by using that account, you should get it for 1 month. And if you haven't ridden Ruby before, you should take it for a spin because I think you're going to love it. I was never an indoor rider fan, but after I got on Ruby, I was totally hooked. You can get all the different Trek Travel or Trek bikes. You can get Trek Travel kits, which if you do one of these group rides, you will get an actual Trek Travel kit, just like if you go on a regular trip. It is just so fun. And then they have connections with Ironman. They also have connections with the Vuelta. They're always doing all kinds of fun rides, and you can ride things on your own. Like I said, just travel all around the world. And rides range from like very short rides down the Vegas Strip to like climbing up Alpe d'Huez. It's just really, really a great way to ride when you can't go outside, whether it's a rainy day or it's late at night, or if you're like you live in Minnesota like I do and it's super cold throughout, probably 4 months out of the year. It's just a really fun way to kind of keep riding and not just be staring at, a movie or YouTube videos. Okay, so now we are at the last leg of our journey. Hopefully we've stirred up some additional questions from you. So if you want to throw them into the chat box or just turn on your mic and video, we'll answer them out loud. But mostly I want to thank you for joining us this night. And so with that, let's stop the share and see if anybody, the one question that did come up, oh yes, and well, Sherry asked the name of the platform. Yeah, Ruby. So it's Rouvy. They are, what are they, like a Czech company? That's why the name is not something that's maybe a little simpler. Um, and I will say too, when you're on Ruby's website, you can actually watch the videos of the different routes and you kind of see what they're offering. But essentially, it's like riding through a video instead of, I know a lot of people who do Zwift will kind of be riding through a video game. This is actually riding on the actual roads. And I remember once too, I actually saw a Trek travel van on one of the routes. Um, and someone asked e-bike for gravel. Yeah. So on some of the trips, there are e-bikes available for the gravel, right? They just take the Damani Plus SLR 7 and throw some gravel tires on it. So definitely, you just got to check out each um, each trip because it just depends on what's kind of available there. But Anna, if someone asked, and maybe you know the answer to this, well, you actually put an answer in already. So someone asked, can you bring back wheels of Gouda? Is allowed through customs. And
Yes.
yes.
Can. You just have to tell the shop that you're planning on bringing it home and they can package it up. They have to vacuum seal it in order for you to legally bring it back to the United States. And there's certain types of cheese that you can and cannot bring back. So just let the shop know what you're looking to get and they'll make sure that they'll sell you the right one that you'll be able to bring home and package it up for you. You just can't open it before you leave. So you make sure you get some for snacking
Well,
too.
because it would be a tragedy to go to Gouda, right, and have that amazing cheese and then not be able to bring some home with you. And I'm sure, like once you've had it there, when you buy it at your local grocery store, it's probably not the same, or you probably feel it's not quite the same.
No, definitely not. And Sherry also asked, Sherry, I'm not sure if this was a question, but you asked about paved roads on gravel and how many cars, and you said a nut allergy, tree nuts and peanuts. Um, I don't know if you want to jump on the mic and add more context to those. Were you just asking about dietary restrictions or?
No, I was asking what you do if there are people with allergies, how you contain the nuts that other people might bring, but or use because they're in a lot of energy bars.
Yeah. So a lot of our mixes that we'll have out on the table, so a lot of bars and things are already packaged and have their wrappers around them. So those will be mixed in with bars with and without peanuts. I myself have a peanut allergy, so I definitely know where you're coming from with that, with those kind of questions. But as far as dietary restrictions go, our guides are more than capable of making sure that you have adequate fuel on the table that you're allowed to eat and keeping it separated from everything else. So I know a lot of guide teams, they'll have different like Chex mixes and things, and they'll have kind of like the peanut free options. And then they're always happy to make like separate little baggies for you if you want like a kind of a separate thing that hasn't been even near anything else. So definitely very easy to accommodate all sorts of dietary restrictions and allergies and things like that.
Great,
And
thanks. And then the other question was, there was a comment that you go on some gravel roads, paved roads to get to gravel, which is fine. I do ride around cars here, but like in Italy, they're crazy drivers. So I was wondering the paved roads that connected the gravel, were they, how kind of populated they were with vehicles? What's the vehicle density?
Yeah, so it really depends on the trip and where you're at. I've ran all of the gravel trips that we have here in the United States. And I would say some of our paved roads that we're on are, backcountry quiet roads where you won't see any cars and you'll be on it for like 2 or 3 miles. Other times we might be on some busier roads that have like massive shoulders. So it really depends, but our goal is to always limit the time on any busy roads as much as possible because your guides don't want to be riding on those roads either, let alone you guys. We don't want you guys on those. So we totally understand that. But it definitely depends on the trip, and your guides will always let you know any sections. If you're uneasy about getting on there, there's always happy to offer a little boost if you need it in the van as well.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely. Good questions.
also share on your dietary restrictions too, and that goes for restaurants as well. Obviously, knowing ahead of time that you have dietary restrictions, they'll make sure to contact the restaurant and make sure there are options available for any dietary restrictions, whether it's nuts or anything else too. Definitely work to accommodate, all dietary restrictions. Some
Great.
places are easier than others. Europe's better. I would say I was in Texas years ago, and I had some vegetarians come to Texas, and that was a little more of a struggle because in Texas, basically taking the steak off the steak salad is sometimes the only vegetarian option you have. But but we know that ahead of time, and we've definitely tried to curate restaurants that can provide the widest variety of great food with various dietary restrictions.
Texas is getting better though.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. No, it's it's in the last 6 years, it's definitely changed dramatically.
For sure. Great questions, you guys. Anything else that may have come up during the event?
Well, let me ask, Anna, do you have any pro tips if you're getting ready for a trek travel trip, or what, do you have any pro tips for our guests?
Yeah, I think biggest pro tip is go out and ride your bike. Find the joy of riding again. I feel like so often we have people come on trip and they're like, it's been so long since I've ridden. I don't know why it's been so long since I've touched a bike. I'm having so much fun. And like they get inspired again to go home and ride. And I always think that using your truck travel trip as a way to inspire you to get on your bike before you leave is awesome. And definitely go talk to your local truck dealer if there's anything that you're like, am I missing gear? Is there anything I should know before I go? You can always reach out to truck travel, and your truck dealers are also happy to make sure that you have the gear that you need to go on your trip to make sure that you're best prepared. And then, yeah, as far as packing goes, I always say if there's one thing that you bring your saddle. But bring anything that makes you more comfortable riding on someone's bike who's not yours. But if you're gonna only bring one thing, make it your stallion, your saddle.
Absolutely. I think most of the saddles these days on our bikes are the Trek Verse Short, which is, really comfortable, great saddle for most folks. It's kind of a neutral riding position. But I mean, your bottom is going to be used to your saddle, so your guides are more than happy to switch that out. The other thing you might need to bring are pedals. We provide the Shimano SPD and SPDSL, otherwise known as the mountain and the road pedals, so the big square plastic cleat or the little metal cleat. We also have flats if you're someone who doesn't want to, be clipped in. And if you're really old school, we even have cages, so we can throw those on. We have to dig them out at the bottom of the bag usually, but we're more than happy to provide the cages. So if you're riding anything other than Shimano, Time, Speed Play, or if you have like your Garmin power pedals, make sure to bring those along. And again, give them to the guides a little ahead of time. They're more than happy to put them on your bike. So it's ready for you when you show up. The other thing I would say, if you have room, is your helmet. We use the Garmin Waves or the Trek Wave Cell helmets. So while you're in the Trek store, check one out and see how that's comfortable. All heads don't fit helmets the same, and so if you're like, "Yep, this is great, love it," but if you're like, it doesn't feel quite right," or if you just want to bring your own helmet because you have room, then do that. Otherwise, you can save some more space for that big wheel of Gouda you have to bring back. But or all the other stuff. Usually there's usually bottles of wine, I mean, or beer or something coming back as well. So I would say definitely the helmet and the saddle and pedals are things that I always recommend that people check out. And the other pro tip I would say is if you are traveling from, if you're someone who lives at sea level like I do, and you're going to a destination, I guided in New Mexico last year. Santa Fe's at 7,000 feet and had a lot of guests coming who weren't used to the elevation. They showed up the day ahead and they were strong cyclists, but they were just really struggling. One thing you might want to think about is an e-bike. I'll say there was a couple guests from Canada who got the Damani Plus, and they seemed to enjoy the rides a lot more than other guests at the end. Coming up the last climb, there was where we stayed, there was this kind of big climb right at the end, and they were just had the biggest smiles on their faces. And let's be honest, this is the trip. If you haven't prepared for, you're not training during the trip. If you haven't gotten ready before the trip, doing some hard rides on the first day is not going to get you ready. So, using a Damani Plus if you're not sure you're ready, or frankly, if you're coming from someplace at sea level, you're going to be at elevation. It just makes the trip that much more enjoyable to see the scenery and have fun with it, and then also zoom around, frankly, on the e-bike. And with that, unless anyone has any other questions and any other parting thoughts before we let everybody go and enjoy their summer evening.
I think that's it. I think that was a good job. Nice, well done, Curtis.
Yeah, no, thank you, Anna. And I'll say if anyone has any questions, always feel to reach out to us or reach out to Trek Travel, call customer service. Again, these events in the future, feel free to join another one, and we can answer any questions that come up later, or drop us an email. You have all the contact information in the email that we send to you. So with that, Anna, thank you very much for describing those two amazing places. And thank everyone else for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and hopefully we will see you on a Trek Travel trip or at least another Trek Travel event.
Awesome. Thank you
night.
guys.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Anna.
Cheers.